I think most of us who are old enough can agree that Steve Irwin was a national treasure, and he brought joy to our lives. But the man was clinically insane for messing around with crocodiles and alligators. They have one of the strongest bite forces in all of the animal kingdom. Then again, when it comes to football, maybe that bite is what's needed for Florida's defense, and maybe that's what Cormani McClain will bring to this team in 2024 because he officially committed to Gainesville on Wednesday. Let's go ahead and talk about what he brings to this defense. Is this a good fit for Billy Napier in a crucial year 3? And ultimately, what looks like a future for Cormani McClain? But real fast, welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit subscribe because we're talking college football every single day leading up to week 1 and well throughout the 2024 season. And of course, follow us on all of the social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mr. Cole Thompson, and at SEC Unfiltered. Also, make sure that you download the podcast version of the show. If you like it, leave a 5-star review. Tell us what you think about this. If you don't like it, well, then go ahead and leave a 1-star review and tell us how we can improve. And for the #1 content surrounding your favorite conference, the #1 conference in all of college athletics, make sure that you visit SECUnfiltered.com. This episode of SECU is brought to you by RHOBACK. Make sure that you use the promo code SECU at RHOBACK.com for 20% off all polos, hoodies, joggers, and shorts. SECU promo code at RHOBACK.com for 20% off. Cormani McClain made it pretty clear that he was going to go to Florida. Now, there could have been some other schools involved. You were hearing USF. You were hearing a little bit of Utah. You were hearing a little bit of UCF at one point. But ultimately, he goes on 2 different visits and officially commits on Wednesday. What's really interesting is that if you look at the roster right now, they actually have all 85 scholarship spots filled. So is he walking on? Is he taking a risk and trying to prove to everybody that, yes, things are different, that he wants to be a part of what Billy Napier is preaching, what Austin Armstrong is selling as a coordinator? What the NIL collective is going to do to keep him around is a whole nother thing, but this is a talented player. Let's not sugarcoat and say just because he didn't hit his stride last year in Boulder that he's not good enough to be a 5-star caliber player, because that's what he was coming out of high school. Great speed, long, lengthy arms, 6'2", 4'5" caliber type player, physical at the point of attack. Came on strong at the very end of last season for the Buffaloes, but we kind of knew that their season was already wrapped up. They were preparing for 2024. And so now you look at this being a fresh start for Cormani McClain. We do have to talk about what is the big elephant in the room. You heard the conversations made at the beginning of the year for a brand new coaching staff with a lot of question marks surrounding the team in general. Is Cormani McClain going to be a factor here in Colorado? And Deion Sanders, one of the best defensive backs in the history of college football, one of the best defensive backs in the history of the NFL, said he's got to be more proactive. He's got to show up on time. He's got to be here. He's got to be more attentive. And to give benefit of the doubt, maybe this was the learning lesson needed for Cormani McClain. Go away from home. Go ahead and be on your own. Figure out that there are some things that you need to mature about. And now you're coming into a brand new situation where you feel a lot more confident. You feel like that you can actually build off of your success. You feel a lot more like this is a team that is going to benefit from having you. And they are. The good news is that if you are a Florida fan and you're saying, we're going into a year that's already pure hell. We already know that we are basically facing every single odd against us. The cards are stacked up high, and we want nothing to do with this roster. You do realize that he doesn't have to start right away. You bring back Jason Marshall, who was a former 5-star product in his own right. You bring in Devin Moore, a legitimate NFL prospect who had a great junior season. You also have Jakeem Jackson, who could play either in a rotational role, could play in the nickel. He can do a lot of things, and he showed promise as a freshman last season. So Cormani McClain's going into a situation where you're not asking him to start right away. You're not asking him to come in and be an X factor, and you're not asking him to be a crucial part of your team. You're asking him to be here for the long haul, and hopefully he'll benefit from learning underneath the culture and underneath the standard. A lot of people are probably going to say, well, this guy has already shown in the past underneath a coaching staff that probably wasn't really well equipped to handle him, that he's immature, he's not ready to be a part of a team, he's not ready to be a part of a great culture, and we don't need this type of drama disrupting our locker room. Well, if you're a good team, don't you have a great culture? Isn't that something that's really important and prevalent? If you feel like that you have the right coach in the building, you feel like that you have the right pieces in play to overexpand what your horizons are, you feel like that the team is trending upward in the right direction in a crucial year where everything has to show promise, Shouldn't culture outweigh everything else? Because the culture's weeded out. Steve Sarkisian is probably one of the pioneers in the last 5 seasons to truly preach culture and live off his laurels, because they went 5-7 their first year at Texas. And what did Bo Davis do? Yelled at everybody after everyone was being nonchalant following a loss against Iowa State, and they weeded out the weak. They said, look, you don't want to be here. You don't want to be a part of this team. You don't want to be a part of anything that we got. No problem. Go ahead and don't let the door hit you on the way out. Ajay Hall just committed to be a walk-on at UCF, and this was a former top-tier prospect wide receiver that joined Steve Sarkisian. And Sark looked at him and said, you're not being a part of our culture. I'm not letting you derail what we have. Best of luck to you in your future endeavors. I don't care how talented you are. And if Billy Napier is the right coach, if he's the guy that's supposed to be in charge in Gainesville, and I personally think he is, then you do realize that everyone should be following suit. People should be walking up to Cormani McClain, shaking his hand and going, we do things a little bit different than what happens in Boulder. You will be here on time. You will be at every single workout. We will not be responsible for you either. You want to be a part of this team. You want to be a part of this culture. You want to see what could actually be a great future for you. You will earn it. And then once you earn it, you will continue to prove to us week in and week out that you belong here. Because we have a standard. And our standard is not changing just because if you have a 5-star next to your name. That 3-star is putting in more work than you. He deserves to be on the field more than you do. That should be the way that you view this thing. So if you get a talented player and he's learned from his mistakes and he comes on in and he ends up benefiting from sitting for a little while, and then eventually you see him hit his stride and he lives up to all the expectations because he can. Nobody's saying that Cormani McClain can't. If he does, Billy Napier looks like a genius. And if it doesn't pan out and he ends up being shown the door or he's no longer a part of the program, well, that only shows you that Billy Napier swung and lost. And unfortunately, the writing is on the wall that maybe, just maybe, it's not just adding in players. It's adding in the right players. But the right culture does a lot of wonders for you. You do realize that there were moments last year that Florida was showing improvements, and then there was regression. What version of Florida are we getting? Because you can't look at the record and say, yeah, this is going to be fair. Yeah, they have the schedule made from Satan himself. Literally, I think even college football, Satan took a look at Florida and said, I didn't come up with that. No, I'm evil, but I'm not that sadistic of a person. I don't like doing that. Maybe Greg Sankey is, but I'm not. If you have a great culture, it doesn't really matter what happens with Cormani McClain. And maybe he's learned from his mistakes in Colorado. And maybe this ends up being a blessing in disguise. Or it could backfire immediately and Billy Napier is shown the door, thus leading to a new era of Gator football and one that we can just put in the chapter book and maybe lock in Pandora's box and never open up again. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think of Cormani McClain joining the Gators for 2024? Good move, bad move, indifferent move because it's not really going to matter. This is still a 4-8, 5-7 roster. Make sure that you hit subscribe because we're talking college football every single day leading up to week 1. Make sure you download the podcast version of the show. Leave a 5-star review, 1-star review. Tell us your overall thoughts and make sure that you're following us every single day at SECUnfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks, later.